um, Kathleen Metcalf and I met probably 20-ish or so years ago, Kathy.
Yes, it's probably a good 15 for sure.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, that's fantastic. And Kathy is the CEO and co-founder of, and I don't get this right, Cambion. I think it should be CAM, but she spells it with a K for
Yes.
Kathleen. Makes total sense to me now. Um, and Cambion is a systems company for real estate agents. Has done a terrific job and has a great name in the industry. And we kind of wanted to do a little bit of masterminding together and helping agents on what's going on. So first of all, Kathy, if you give us a little Reader's Digest of your career, how you got involved in this whole thing, coming from the retail business, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, the first part of my career was in the retail industry in recruiting, training, and human resources. And then I lived in San Francisco, California, for during one time I was on the boots on the ground in real estate. And I had a consulting business in Silicon Valley, placing HR executives in dot-com businesses as that Silicon Valley was coming alive. And I had just closed that business in 2001. And my building manager introduced me to the owner. He said, I think the owner of the building would really like to meet you. And so it just happened to be one of the top 10 real estate agents in the city of San Francisco, Nina Hadvani. And so she said, well, would you like to, help me with an open house, or could you be my assistant, or could you help me run my office in my building? And so I went to work for her. And then she asked me to get licensed. And then I asked her if I could actually sell with her, but she said, my kids are going to take over the business, which they have since then. She said, but you'd be really good at it, because I saw that being a recruiter and being a real estate agent were two parallel universes. In recruiting, I had been the middle person between people and their career, people and jobs. And as a real estate agent, I could see, oh, I'm now the middle person between property and people. Oh, I can definitely do this. This is terrific. And so then I became an agent in San Francisco.
Great, fantastic. How did that morph into the consulting business that you're in today?
So in 2007, I moved from San Francisco, California, to this little town of Springfield that I live in the state of Vermont, which is where my family is. And in looking for what am I going to do now in Vermont, between my retail and HR background and my real estate background, I got introduced to Kathy Anderson, who at the time was also one of the top coaches for the Mike Ferry organization.
And just what a great coach and person she is.
Yes, and we're still very dear friends. We had dinner a couple of weeks ago. And so she hired me on the spot, and I worked for her for 6 years. And as her assistant, her property manager, really her everything manager. I managed everything, and I just loved working for her because she was so appreciative of all my experience. She always asked my advice, my counsel, what were my ideas, how do you want to organize that? And as time went on, she gave me more and more responsibility. I also got to listen because I was in the office, suite with her, where she coached 65 agents a week for 6 years. And through 2008 to 2012. So through some very difficult times.
That's a university education by itself.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. So what did you find the agents were running into, and what have you done to help them? Because the questions come from I need an assistant, but I can't afford an assistant. And then I can afford an assistant, but I have no clue what to give them to do.
Yes.
Right. Anybody on this call relate to what I just talking about? Yeah. Besides everybody. All right. Good stuff. All right. So Kathy, how do you work with that? What do you recommend?
So the patterns that I heard were, because I kept hearing Kathy say, how are you going to get your prospecting done? And so that pattern of not delegating or having no systems in place, so that the delegation to an assistant, to a transaction coordinator, to their kid, who was home from college for the summer and worked for them, right? There's all kinds of levels of delegation and getting leverage. But that it was so ineffective, the agents didn't even want to bother with it. They would just keep taking the tasks back, which meant that their time kept getting squeezed, which then kept them from being able to get beyond a certain level of volume. That's one element. The other is it reduced their quality of life. So here were these very successful agents who had all kinds of resources to be able to enjoy their life, but they were working a lot of hours and taking their laptop on vacation.
We can all relate to that at some point in our careers.
Anybody taken I love the new meme that's out with a guy who's got his laptop out in the water and he's like sitting on a floaty working on something in the waves. It's like, oh, that is just pivotal. Because I've been the person on the phone with the agent on their laptop at the pool with their kids, laughing in the background, who's just tortured over the fact that, she needs to improve the way she's running her business because she can't stand it like that anymore.
Okay, so I would think that this is a progression at some point, right, Kathy?
Yes. Yes. And
so how does it, let's talk a little bit about that. What would that progression look like?
So as a new agent or a newer agent in the industry, right, your first line of survival and defense is to get great skills. So you need to know how to prospect, do lead follow-up, go on appointments, and negotiate. You need PLAN. As you learn those skills, it needs to become more and more apparent. And I have tools for you today. I also have things to share with you to be able to separate sales tasks and responsibilities from administrative tasks and responsibilities, to get the business and to service the business, and to recognize in the beginning you might be doing both, but you actually have two hats on. And at some point, you need to be able to have the other hat be worn by another person or other people so that you spend more of your time in your zone of genius. And usually for 80–90% of agents, what they love most is prospecting, lead follow-up, going on appointments, and negotiating. So we're also trying to get you more joy.
Kathy, nobody likes prospecting.
Well, some people might call it networking, but
okay,
yeah.
There you go. All right, good job. So it's interesting. We've got to separate sales and admin.
Yes.
And that's a hard thing because they all cross over. And of course, we're sitting here with our cell phone and the cell phone goes off and, oh my gosh, I've been trying to get a hold of this person and you are off running with that follow-up call and everything else gets disjointed. So how can an agent that doesn't have a lot of money, has a little bit of closings going on,
Yep.
How can they take advantage of this in this world today?
So the first place is a transaction coordinator. You pay them by the transaction, and they usually have their own system of what they do, things that they follow, a method that they utilize, and you want to be able to know what is that. So what are they going to do that you're not going to have to do? And how are you going to know what's going on in the deal once you give that? Because the other factor here is in delegation comes trust. And with systems comes what's being done is the way you want to be represented. And so this is where my recruitment background came in handy. It's like, you need to interview your transaction coordinator and be able to say, so tell me about your process and tell me, how are you going to communicate with clients? How are you going to communicate with me? And does that work for you? To be able to know, yes, wonderful, that makes a great ambassador for me.
So Kathy, do you have, for all of us that aren't ready necessarily to hire you or your company to do the workforce yet, do you have some questions that you have lined out that you could share with us, what to look for, what to ask, etc.? Is that something, am I asking for too much here?
I don't have a tool about interview questions for a transaction coordinator, but that's really a great idea. I would be happy to create something like that and have that tool. What we do have are listing and buyer checklists that show columns, which we call swim lanes, of who's going to do that kind of task. So which tasks belong to an agent, and they're movable, right? You can change who's going to do what. What might a listing coordinator do? What might an assistant do? What might a transaction coordinator do? So you can begin to separate things in your mind and then in your business about what tasks you're going to keep and what tasks you're going to delegate.
Very interesting. Okay, so there's some setup and thought process that needs to go into this. You don't just go hire a person, put him or her in a chair and say, go.
It's not the most productive or profitable way, no. And when I started the business, I actually started as bullseye hiring for hiring assistants, right? Because that had been a lot of my background, was hiring administrative and worker operations people. But then what I realized is agents hadn't necessarily been trained to manage. So great talent really wants to be managed well and in a culture that's really healthy. So then I started coaching, and then I recognized there wasn't a lot of training available. So then we developed training programs. And then we really got to see underneath, behind the curtain, that there really weren't a lot of systems in place. So we started to develop more tools for systems, because if you have some checklists and this is what I want done, even if you don't like to use them, that's okay. They're going to use them. And the clearer it is about who does what, the more an admin can actually manage the agent, because that's what many agents would actually prefer. They would just like to go get the deal. They want to hunt and bring back the contract and say, now please process, and go get another one. And then they go
Right.
get another one. And so to
And
create that cycle, then we need these kind of tools.
well, that's great. That's great. So it starts with deciding what you want it done, correct?
Yes, and you don't have to do that from scratch. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? We have tools where you can just say, oh, I don't even do that in my business. Scratch that out. And so,
Okay.
but yes, you start deciding on what does it look like? What is your secret sauce inside the framework of what happens in most deals? So let's just step left for a moment about that. Many agents think that every deal is different.
Okay.
And we hear that all the time. So I'd also like to introduce, that's a bit of a limiting belief, that some parts of every deal are unique. 80% of a deal is the same. It has the same components, the same steps, the same prompts, the same considerations, but the people are different and the circumstances are different, and the negotiation is different. But the more you can begin to accept and believe that there is a lot of sameness, then we really can have systems. But when agents believe that every deal is different and systems don't work and aren't available and everything is a fire drill, then we're really working the hard way.
Well, that makes sense. Totally. So how would you recommend the agents start out on this?
To review a checklist and see, these are the things that I do, and these are the things that I don't really need to keep doing. And you start to look at tasks.
The company has checklists. I would imagine every company has some checklists that are out there for, we need this to close a transaction for the Department of Real Estate, right?
Yes.
How would these checklists you're talking about differ from that?
Those checklists don't usually have, I need a copy of the key. I need to order the sign. I need to have the sign removed. I need to get a sign writer. I need to be able to deliver, the open house package. So there's a lot of tasks. There's potentially hundreds of tasks to do that you probably do without even thinking about that. And you do it often from memory as an agent when you're doing everything yourself. But there are hundreds of things, and you can delegate many of them. And it's best to delegate them in a package of tasks. So someone owns a role and owns a series of tasks.
I'm going to ask you a question that I don't know the answer to, and I've been told never to do this. Okay. I don't know how you're going to answer it.
Okay. Go.
You have a unique position because you talk to a lot of agents across the country, right?
Yes, in North America.
A lot of top agents. Mm-hmm. So do a lot of top agents try to use a pre-listing package before they go on a listing appointment?
Yes.
Interesting. So they think it's important to use a pre-listing packet.
Yes, some deliver it in paper, some deliver it electronically, some might bring it with them and go over it with the client at the meeting. And that administratively is often prepared by someone other than the agent.
I understand. And then an admin person will help the agent get it delivered one way or another.
Correct.
Okay, and sometimes that person is a title person or a lender or a part-time. I mean, I guess an admin person could be part-time at some level, right?
Oh, sure. And the hardest part about sometimes the pre-listing package or getting ready for the listing are the comps. And so if given really good criteria, an administrative person can pull comps, it's harder for them to evaluate comps because you really need to know the market and be able to understand a depth of knowledge about that. So that's harder for admin to do, but they can pull them if you give them good criteria.
Got it. All right. Real estate agents good at giving good criteria or not so good?
When we give them a tool, or when the admin has a prompt to say, okay, if you want me to pull comps, I need to ask you a few questions. I need to know district, area, location, features, right, condition. And so then they can go and do that. But agents often don't spontaneously give clear direction because they know more things in their mind than their mouth often says.
So I would suspect you're pretty analytical, right?
Yes, I'm definitely all over the disc, depending on when you saw me in my career. But yes,
Okay.
I think in
but at the
process.
end of the day, you're analytical in
Yes.
process. I mean, all the answers I'm getting from you are do this, then that, and this, and when this happens, that happens. Most real estate agents, from my experience, are not really good at that.
That's okay.
So they're frustrated that they're not good at it. They're frustrated it's not coming. They're frustrated that they can't afford somebody to deliver the package, so to speak, or create the package. I mean, you've got to have seen this along, for the last 15, 20, 25 years.
Yes.
What advice can you give the agents to take a deep breath, to chill out a little bit? And, what's the steps to getting there that you've seen?
I think we first have to look at the mindset about can't afford.
I'm sorry, do that again. What was
We
the
have
word?
to first look at the mindset and perhaps the dollars about can't afford.
Can't afford. Okay.
So as a business, it is advisable that every business would expect, plan, and anticipate that a certain percentage of their revenue, which in real estate agents would be gross commission income, is going to be invested in marketing and support and other facets of the business. It's not all owner's draw. It's not all owner money, right? And so then what percentage, what portion of that are you willing to be able to invest in having this kind of support so that you can do more deals if that's your goal, or have better life quality if that's your goal? But we're talking about like $150. We're talking about, like, you can have things done in very small increments. You can have things done by virtual assistants on Fiverr for $7 an hour. Like this isn't a lot of money necessarily.
Okay.
But you can, live in San Francisco and need to hire an $85,000 assistant, because that's what it costs to have an assistant. It costs $85,000 to $115,000 a year, because this is a very skilled professional living in a high cost of living area. But going back down the scale, right? You can have support to create a report for a little amount of money.
Okay. Great. Excellent. Anyone have questions right now of Kathleen on anything that we've covered so far as we move along here? Go
Josie.
ahead, Josie.
What is Fiverr?
Fiverr
Great question.
is a platform. It's FIVERR.com. And it is a platform to hire virtual support of all kinds by the project from working people all over the world. And you can put in, I have a listing presentation package that I would like to have designed or put together. and I'm willing to pay in upwards of $100. Who can help me?
Got
And
it.
then they put in bids to help you, and then you interview them and they can do that for you. There's also a company called Hello Leverage that offers almost in every state listing coordination support by the deal, as well as marketing support by the deal, as well as transaction coordination support by the deal. And it's like, I don't know, between $150 and $350 to help you do listing coordination. And if your average commission is 2,000 or 20,000, you know, it's a small percentage.
Plus, the theory is that if you have somebody doing this for you, or some of it for you, that life, A, can be a little bit easier, and or B, you can do a few more transactions or a combination thereof, right?
Yes, but and the agent is not supposed to already be good at this. So one of the analogies I often use in my work is every agent is a bird, is a unique bird. And a lot of agents are falcons or birds of prey, and they love to hunt and fly. Some of the expressive agents might be hummingbirds, and they are beautiful and vibrant, but they have a short attention span and they don't like to deal with checklists.
And they're all over the place.
Right? And they're all over the
In
place.
In 1 second, they can be in 6 different places.
Yes, and this is
Wow,
the
what a
beauty.
great analogy.
This is the beauty that you're supposed to be your bird. You're not supposed to try to be a mourning dove. Like, you're supposed to be a falcon. They're wicked cool, right? But you need a complement to that. You need the person on the other side who's going to say, okay, well, tell me what you want. Well, how do you want that to look? Do you like these colors? Okay, let me put that together for you. Like, that's why you have leverage of an analytical person, of a an S, a steady person, right? You need that complement to be able to help you in your business. So you don't hire in your image, you hire your complement, which is also fodder for
Interesting.
conflict.
You don't hire in your image, hire in your complement.
Correct. You're looking for the people who do things well that you don't do well or don't like to do, that they do well and they actually really like them.
So hiring your image. No, don't hire in your image.
No, and it's fine if you're trying to hire an agent, to come work with you and that you're mentoring, then you can hire in your image. But when you're hiring for operational support to help you get things done, then it's about hiring your complement, even if that's in hiring a service, right, where you're looking for listing coordination. These people aren't agents who are doing this on the side. That often works, but that's a very small percentage of talent. The talent really is in complement to what you're good at.
Josie, good question. Any other questions of Kathleen on what we're covered so far? No other hands? Okay, so Kathleen, can you give us an example like Fiverr of, and what was it? What did you say? Hello Leverage.
Hello Leverage is
of other services that we could look at that would help us go down that street?
Yeah, so the other element so there are 3 legs of a stool that we talk to clients about. It's workflow, teamwork, and finances. So as a story, I'd probably been in business 3-4 years at the earliest when it came to my attention that one of my very top producing front row clients was $300,000 in debt with the IRS. $300,000. And then I was shocked, but at the same time, I was like, wow, I am so sorry. I never asked you about this. I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were under this kind of pressure. And I myself, the second year I was a real estate agent, didn't handle my commission structure well. And I got on the other side of the table with the IRS because I didn't save out of my commissions to pay taxes. And it took me 7 years to fix that.
Oh, you're supposed to do that?
Yeah. Have systems for that. Yeah. So I have systems for that now. So when I started this business, I hired a money coach.
Ah, good girl.
I'm a Girl Scout when it comes to all of that. And I save my percentage and put it in a separate checking account. And that's the account I pay the taxes from when my CPA gives me a quarterly voucher, because that's beyond my pay grade. But the idea of finances as a new agent, as a younger agent, that it doesn't just take care of itself, and volume doesn't take care of everything. So then I had a second client where I started to ask the question, and he was $250,000 in debt with the IRS. And I later had, because I've been asking the question, had a wonderful client, beautiful woman, had a lovely family, $500,000 in debt with the IRS. The pressure, so painful. So that has really sort of turned into a crusade with me of, okay, in consultations, I ask, I'm going to ask you a question that you don't have to answer, but are you up to date with your state and federal taxes or any others that you have to pay? And if you're not, and you need help with that, then please let us help you. Let us find resources for you, because you're in the game to do well financially, which means you got to love on your money. You got to love on it. You got to take good care of it. You got to give it a place to go, and it needs to have, certain things taken care of. It's like you're not going to go buy, right, a brand new Mercedes and then never change the oil or have it maintained. You got to take care of it. It's beautiful, right? You can't get a big sports car. You can't get a Maserati or a Ferrari and then not maintain it. This is the same thing with your money. You want to be a millionaire. Well, you got to maintain it. You got to have the oil changed and take good care of it.
That's a
And those
great
are
point.
systems. So
Kathleen, that's a really great point.
Yes.
I'll share with you another thought you might add to your ammunition there.
Please.
I find that a lot of real estate agents have little or no retirement program.
Yes.
And that is, that's horrible, to spend 30, 40, 50 years in this business and not have real money put away somewhere in houses, etc. So it's what you're talking about goes hand in hand with that, because a lot of it gets sucked up into taxes and stuff. So good for you.
Yes. So having systems in the very beginning and having bookkeeping, because you're also not supposed to necessarily get good at this. You have a bookkeeper, and we have 3 resources that we refer people to that are different prices, but for as little as $125 a month, you can have, someone, your credit card goes in, your bank account information goes in. They can't move your money. They can't touch your money. They're just tracking it for you. And then you get a report every month. You can see, what did you spend on leads? What did you spend on marketing? What did you spend on leverage support for operations? What did you spend on staging or flowers, or, all those kind of things? And then where are you saving for taxes, and where are you saving for your retirement? How are you paying yourself? And what is that system? Because it can be managed, and you can have support for that, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money.
That's great. Excellent. Good stuff. So are you current with your state and federal taxes? Going to be my new recruiting conversation.
Yes. And if you're not, there's no shame in that. It's okay, because this is really where the shame of thinking you're supposed to have it be different than you have it. What we like to say to clients is, look how successful you are doing it just the way you're doing it.
Right.
Imagine how successful and how much peace of mind you could have if some of these other elements were more nurtured, more cared for in your business, so that you could really enjoy your success. And there's no shame in how you've gotten to the level of success where you are. We just have to now decide, do you want to, do you want to keep doing it the way you've been doing it? You're allowed to change your mind.
Perfect. Monica almost asked the question, what are the resources you offer to new clients? I don't know if you want to go into that, how much depth right now, but.
Well, and I have a handout for you, which has some links in it to a free download of checklists, that has a video that I did about delegation and some steps to follow. It has some examples of, we recommend, and part of this has come from one of the only books that's been written about managing a real estate business, is The Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller. And he recommends somewhere around 11 to 13% of your revenue you would invest in having leverage of support operations. And in my experience, it's if you make over $1 million in GCI, it might drop below 10%. But in the beginning, it might be between 10 and 20%. And I often use 15% of your GCI is what you might invest in having support. And so there's an example there. And the example talks about the opportunity cost of not having leverage. And that opportunity cost is how many deals could you do if you saved that time? And how many soccer games of your children could you go to? Or how many, my colleague, Aaron talks about he didn't get to go to his son's first Halloween because he was at a listing appointment that he didn't get with an argumentative seller. And he regrets that terribly, but it was a painful lesson. So the tools of being able to look at your business in that way. So I do have some wonderful free tools for you. And then we also have a business operations review. We have a summer special, and that's also noted in the handout for you. If you want to go through and comb through your business, we have a special about that this summer for $4.99 to go over it and do that. And then you can decide what you want to tackle and what you're happy with, because you may be doing some things really well.
Very good. Excellent. Other questions of Kathleen as we move along here?
Okay.
Josie.
So, is that the name of your company?
Yes, cambium.com.
Yeah. And so we can look at that and look at your list of things, all that.
Yes, absolutely. And you're welcome to have a free consultation. And the link to my calendar is in the PDF handout that I'll be giving you. And I'm happy to be able to talk with any of you about your business and how things are going and how things are organized and where your pain points are. Because it changes, right, as you put my link in. Yeah, I think I can do that.
So you're not a real estate agent anymore?
I am. I'm a real estate agent in the state of Vermont, and I'm connected to Elite Builders with eXp Realty and Aaron Novello.
Oh, okay.
Are you frozen, Neil? No, there you are.
I'm always frozen.
You are not.
Jackie, you're running around all over the place.
I am.
Okay, we're just, when you post it, Kathy, then we can move on, I guess, here.
There you go.
All right. Got it.
Did you want me to show the slides?
Yeah, we've got another 10 or 12 minutes we can use here. But as we do that, any questions for Kathleen that you've got? I mean, this is kind of off the beaten path, but I know a lot of you are right on the cusp of needing a little bit of help. Maybe not a full-time person, maybe not even a third-time person. But Kathy, I wanted to ask you on the offshore virtual stuff that you can get. I mean, are there good companies out there? What do we need to know before we pull the trigger on that?
Well, in hiring a virtual assistant, it is whether they work part-time or full-time for you, whether they're working on a project, they need to have enough direction to be able to take the ball and run with it. And this is where this is a transferable skill. So I like to tell agents, if you are able to cast the vision for a seller about how you're going to market and sell their home, you can cast the vision for an admin about what you want the product to look like that they're going to do for you. So it's a transferable skill. You just got to move it from talking to clients to move it to talking to whoever is going to support you. And so if you are going to, let's say, have a half-time, 4 hours a day, 20 hours a week virtual assistant, you want them to have a lane in your business where they do the same things all the time. They check your email. They upload documents. They upload photos that come in from the photographer. Like, they have the same things they do all the time, which you can pick and choose from the checklist that I'm, going to give you. And so you want to be able to give them a lane. If you just delegate as you think about things, many agents find that they don't feel very much, they don't feel much satisfaction from the leverage. And the example I like to use is the two distinctions of delegation are, if you can imagine that you're holding over your head a big piece of plywood, and on that piece of plywood are all your files, all your clients, all the contacts you have, and now you're holding that and you're trying to delegate one thing at a time to someone. Just one task. Could you call this person? Could you fill this form? Could you send that out? Could you pick this up for me? But you're still holding everything over your head. It's exhausting. Instead, what you want to be able to do is take part of that board and hand it to these people, right? And this person is then going to be able to say, okay, these are all the things that are stacked up on my piece of plywood. And now I report back to you about the status of that and what I got done today. But they have a role, they have a lane, we call them swim lanes, that they swim in their lane, and then they're able to actually do things for you. You can count on it. You know they're going to be done. That has a very different experience of satisfaction for leverage. So now you feel like you're getting what you pay for.
Okay, good. Thank you. Excellent stuff. Other questions? Kathleen, do you want to go through your video, your slide?
Yes. Let me share my screen.
You should be able to share it without any help from me. There you go.
Yes. Can you see that?
There you go.
Right. So systems and delegation, the key is here, you're supposed to be able to make more money. So that's the reason. And the name of my company, Cambium, is normally spelled with a C, and we renamed last year because cambium is the layer underneath the bark of a tree that provides the tree with oxygen and nutrients for it to grow and thrive throughout its lifetime. And the point there is operations is underneath your sales function, and it is providing energy so you can keep selling, you can hit volume, you can take vacations, so that your operations is supporting what you love to do most. Having systems, hiring and training, and supporting your business no matter what stage it is, because you always need to have operational support no matter where you are in your business. And there are lots of choices about what that looks like. So from the time I was little, I just showed you a little of my past. I've always been a systems kind of person. I was looking to the TV. I'm a year old with the typewriter. And that's my picture when I was an agent in San Francisco, and then my hiring business for agents, and then my own business here to do operations. Because as Mike Ferry says, there's more to being a real estate agent than just selling homes. And from that strategy and listening to his system, and his system works. And underneath his system, there are administrative tasks and functions that can help you to really utilize what he's teaching. So workflow, teamwork, and finances are those three legs of the stool. And in the center, you can see that you have consistent optimized results in your business when you have all three things happening in unison, and they're going to grow and change, as your business grows and changes. But without that being in unison, you have burnout, chaos, limited capacity, and high expenses and minimal profit. So we want you to be able to have it all, so to speak. And this gets down to, as an agent, how do you want to spend your time? What is most important to you? What do you love to do most? And how can you have someone else do the other things that aren't that? And in the beginning of being an agent, everything looks like one rope, but then you find that the rope is actually strands, and those strands are different functions inside your business, which is why sales, operations, marketing become different facets of the business. And as you progress, you become the strand that does sales, but other strands can then, in terms of delegation, do admin, marketing, other facets. So this is just a peek at what our checklists look like where there is a column for agents, listing coordinators, assistants, TCs, and all the different kinds of tasks. So you can compare that to the way you like to run your business and see how you might want to delegate. Because this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. This is not just a transaction, right? We're trying to help you be really good at running the marathon. And so this is an exercise I like to do with people, which is to imagine, what is it that you want your business to feel like? When you got into the business, what did you want it to be like? And to really lock in on that you want the freedom, the financial freedom, the freedom to do what you love. And so that is a starting point for now figuring out what tasks do you want to keep and which ones might you like some support on, so that you have swim lanes in your business. And this is included in the workbook that I'm giving you. This is our business circle. It starts at 12 o'clock like a clock. And it's the flow of components in your business: lead generation, lead follow-up, appointments, listings, offers, pending to closing, when a transaction closes, and then how do you stay in touch, building loyal clients and repeat business. And every facet of the business circle has steps and needs a process. And you have this in your head, and we can help you get it out of your head if you also need help doing that. But knowing that this is how you can begin to have people be able to support you is that they take a piece of the work from any of those components. So you have swim lanes. This is one of my colleagues, Lars Hedenborg, who has a wonderful book, Scale or Die, that talks about how he too, like Aaron, missed out on things in his family and said that you really have to have systems in order to be able to scale your business. So when you scale the business, depending on where you want it to go, you're going to need different kinds of support at different levels. And that your time, depending on your GCI, your time is worth what's on this left-hand column. So depending on where you are, your time is worth anywhere from $200 to $500 to $3,500 an hour getting business. And I know Mike talks about this. So therefore, when you think about hiring someone for $20 an hour, you make $200, you make $2,000. So how can we leverage off the things that really don't require your talent? And so I've given you this link to delegation so you can learn about some of the skills of being a good manager, if managing people is something that you're facing, and that giving someone a deadline, a priority level, and how much time you want them to spend on something, how much you're going to pay them for something, becomes part of the agreement, the negotiation of delegating. I've also shown you a picture of this. It's a free download from Susan Scott, the author of Fierce Conversations. When you delegate, particularly if you have an assistant who's working for you, they need to know their level of authority. And it's perfect that it's a tree example, since so is the name of our company. But a leaf is something someone, you ask them to do it and they just check it off and they don't even need to tell you that they did it. But sometimes a task is a branch where you're going to tell them what to do, but you want them to come back and tell you that it was done. And some things are a trunk, which means that you have to figure out and strategize how they're going to call this client for you and what are they going to say. And then once they reach the client and get that handled for you, like a painter is late and now they got to talk to the painter. Well, now you want them to come back and to tell you how did that go and now what's the new agreement with the painter. And a route is an owner decision only. They can't change the lease on your car. They can't buy new software. They can't spend $2,000. These are root decisions, and it helps an admin to know what is my authority to actually take action. And if you have an admin that isn't taking action, sometimes it's because they're afraid that they are going to step over the line and they don't want to do that. So they need more information from you about their level of authority. Kathy Anderson was excellent at this in working with me. So when I was renovating her rental property, in the beginning, that was a branch. And later it was a trunk because she's like, I'm never going to that place in Nashville. Just renovate the kitchen for me. And here's the budget. And then I reported back about how it went. So in setting up your business, there are certain facets you put into place. And this is the example I was talking you through, about 15% of your GCI and your average, dollar per hour And if you got more time back, what would you do with 20 hours of time if you hired someone for 20 hours a week? That's a higher quality of life. That's potentially, 6 more deals, depending on, what it takes you to do a deal. So think about the cost of delegation in terms of opportunity costs as well as hard costs. And if you don't delegate, to ask yourself why. Do you not trust? Do you not know what your standards are? Do you think that no one will meet your expectations? Do you need more tracking? Are you uncomfortable with conflict or communication? What kind of updates do you need? And so if you're not delegating, then it's time to ask yourself why and work through some of those either limiting beliefs or perhaps bad experiences that you've had to be able to get into like, okay, well, how can it be different? And one of these last things I have for you is having a dashboard. What information do you need so you can focus on sales? So if you were to delegate, what do you need to know? How much status do you want? Are you someone that they can talk to and you're going to remember what they told you? Do you need them to put together a little report for you that you'll read and then you'll be able to look back on it? Will you go into software and look at the status of things if they're keeping track of things in a software platform for you? And so having a dashboard so that you are in control of knowing information, but you're not the one who has to be in control of actually doing the tasks. And optimizing, trying to get to freedom so that you can actually have the relaxed state of mind, the freedom, which is why you potentially got into the business in the first place. And so there's a link to our checklist toolkit. It's free. It just asks you for your information to do the download. And I ask you, what is one action you will practice from this session? They could put that in the chat. And then I gave you my contact information.
Well, that's great, Kathy. You've done a really good job with this. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Questions for Kathy right now? Questions for Kathy? Anyone? Anyone? Wait a minute. Maribel, did you have a question? No. It was
So
mine.
Monica, is that your commitment that the one thing you're going to do is delegate?
Monica?
Where is she?
I'm here. I'm trying. I just don't know how.
And do you have someone to delegate to?
I have a TC, yeah, that I pay.
Okay. And does this person have a process that you know what it is?
No, I have no idea.
Okay. Are you willing to ask them? Can you please explain to me what your process is of what you do?
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, so start there. And are you satisfied with this transaction coordinator's work so far?
Oh, yes, she's lovely. I love her.
Excellent. And so knowing what they're doing and what that process is means you can then start to look at, okay, are there things that this person would do more for you, or maybe they won't do more for you? Many transaction coordinators have to stick to their process because that's how they scale. But some of them will, yes, they'll do more things if they know that you want that. So you can always ask. It's kind of just like prospecting, it's all right if they say no. You're just, you're just asking to see what could be possible. And if they can't do it, then who could? Then you can move to, plan B.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome, Monica.
Good
And
job.
Josie
Other
wants-
questions of Kathleen?
Josie wants to look into a virtual assistant.
Yeah.
Do you know what you would want them to do yet, Josie, or is that an exercise you would still need to do?
I think I know what I want them to do.
Okay, so you start making that list, and that list helps determine what are the qualifications of what you want that person to have skills for. And the one piece of information I'll share with you about that process is you want to know what they have really done that shows you they can do that. Not a hypothetical, like what if I gave you, a list, could you, scan that for me? When in your work have you scanned lists and how did that go? And could you have a reference that would talk about how they scanned lists? So you want to know skills and you want to know that for real.
Rite Aid Pharmacy with a message about your prescription. Press 1.
Hello.
Someone's calling Rite Aid Pharmacy. And they're on hold.
Thank you.
Oh, that was great. Excellent, Kathleen. Thank
Pleasure.
you very, very much. Okay, other questions of Kathleen? No other questions? All right, everyone, unmute yourselves, please. Unmute yourselves. And
That
let's
was
give her a
terrific.
big hand.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you,
Woo!
Neil.
All
Thank you for the
right.
opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank
Yay,
you,
Tom.
Kathleen.
Thank
Great
you.
job, great job, great job. So this link, you said that there was another link that we're missing here, Kathy?
In the handout I'm going to give you, there's a link to the toolkit of checklists.
Got it.
And there's a link in the handout to a delegation video.
Perfect. Okay, so the handout will go in the chat box, or how do you want to work this?
Oh, I was going to give it to, is it Ashley on your team?
Yes.
But I do have it as a PDF. I think I might be able to upload it.
Well, if not, just email it to
Oh, yes, I
Ashley.
can. I can put it in the chat as a PDF.
Cool.
And I'll also email it to you,
All right, that'd be great.
but there it is in the chat.
All right, tools, more sales and systems. So Kathy, right now, what we tend to do at the end of our meeting is kind of go around the room, so to speak, and kind of talk about what we learned. If you have a hard stop and need to move on, we certainly understand, or if you want to hang around and just listen, you're welcome to do that too.
I'm okay to stay. Thank you for the
All
invitation.
right, perfect. Okay. All right. So what did we learn today from Miss Kathleen? What did we learn? What did you learn? I learned too. Let's go.
Don't be
Hands
afraid to try.
Sorry.
Don't be afraid to try looking for a virtual assistant.
That's right. Or some kind of help. Right. Perfect. Good. What else did we learn?
Systems, although they can appear to be boring, are the vehicle to get you where you want to go. That's what I heard. Yeah.
100%. And I'm personally working on some different things right now. And I need to make some changes in the help I'm having doing it. And it does take a while, but boy, when I make the total connection and commitment, it's almost a home run in every case. It just needs the setup work. So we're working on that. You know, and Kathleen, you probably never heard of this. By the time I describe it to someone else, this is the person talking. By the time I describe what I need done to somebody else, I could have done it myself. Did you ever hear that one?
Yes.
Yeah,
More times than I can count.
Huh?
More times than I can count. I've heard
Yeah,
that.
I'm sure. I'm sure. But that's not true, is it, Kathy?
It might be true the first few times, but if you invest that time, you get it back in spades over and over again. Otherwise, you just have to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And it's fine if you really like doing that. It's you know, it's not illegal, but it's not necessarily the way in which to not only grow or scale, but also to just find more time to do other things you love.
Got it.
With the
Kathy,
people
if
that are
you can email that to Monica, she's having trouble with it, but I just downloaded it, so I can send it to the team also.
Got it.
Okay, what else did we learn today? What else did we learn?
Hire someone to do your high standard work, like something you cannot do, make you look better, and yeah, like marketing, social media, whatever, like that.
Absolutely.
So that's
You know, it's actually one of the reasons our organization took on basic social media work is because we spent hours and hours and hours in cost and people and et cetera, and all kinds of stuff trying to teach everyone. It wasn't a good idea. It was not one of our better ideas. It's much better to do a certain portion of it for you. And then if you want to do something else with it, you can, but at least you've got a little bit of it. So good job, Abir. What else did we learn that from Kathy today?
That we need to have this checklists, and also hire the bookkeeper for money management.
I thought the bookkeeping idea, is as a business person, I mean, we had that from day one, but it's interesting that a lot of agents don't do that, and they're fooling with hundreds of thousands of dollars in many cases.
Yes.
And that's becomes a little bit of an issue. I liked your graph on workflow, teamwork, and finances, Kathy. Thank you.
Yes, that's in the handout too.
Yeah, good. That was very nice. All right, what else did we learn today? Anyone else? Okay, let's everybody give another big hand to Kathy Metcalf. Woo! All right. Good job, good
Thank you,
job.
Kathy.
Kathy, I'm going to have this in a video portion, probably by the middle of next week. We'll email it to you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and thank you. Appreciate you very much. Thanks for all the good
Appreciate you.
ideas.
Happy to promote your mastermind.
right,
Wonderful
bet.
forum.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. So who's next up for prospecting? I don't have the list with me here. Marhan, is it you?
Grace.
Marhan, is it you?
No, it's Grace.
Grace.
Oh, it's Grace. Oh, that Grace. Grace K.
Yes,
You-
the one you heard from the church every Sunday.
I know. I know. Do you know who Grace K was before you and I were born?
No.
Her name was Princess Grace Kelly. Look her up. Look her up. Was a fabulous, fabulous woman, great star.
Yeah.
And then she met Prince Philip, I think is his name, from Monaco.
Monaco.
And they had a wonderful, wonderful marriage and life together. And the rest, as they say, is history. That's where I thought Grace Cave came from.
Okay. All
There
right.
you go.
I try my best.
That's right. See, I just have a plethora of information. I just don't know what to do with it. All right, everybody. Again, Kathy, thank you so much.
My pleasure, Neil.
I've got the copy, and Monica, do you still need it, or did you get it?
I sent her an email.
Okay, perfect. All right, everybody, rock and roll. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen.
My great pleasure, Grace K.
Okay, no mastermind next week. And then the following week, I have a very dear friend of mine that we're going to interview. His name is John Haar. Do you know John from Utah, Kathy?
I don't recognize the last. Is it H-A-R?
Harr. John Haar and I have been friends from meeting at Mike Ferry for, I don't know, 30 years or so.
Wonderful.
And John, I'm pretty Mike Ferry-ish, okay? But I got to tell you, if Mike Ferry was a real estate broker in Salt Lake City, he'd look just like John Haar.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's not, I'm sorry, the looks isn't the thing as much as he runs it like he's Mike Ferry.
Wow.
I mean, if you don't, 7 o'clock in the morning, Utah time is role play. Everybody that works for the company is physically in the office from 7 to 8, including him.
Wow.
They record the role play, and then when he meets with you weekly, he listens to your role play and critiques it and gives you ideas. he has agents that work and everybody's on a 80-20 split. That's the highest. Everybody starts at 50-50. It is a beginner. Doesn't matter if you've been in the business 10 years. If you start with him, you're at a 50-50 split, blah, blah, blah. But when you work for John Haar, it's not uncommon to do 30 to 100 transactions a year.
Beautiful.
30 to 100 transactions a year, following as close to the Mike Ferry system as anybody I've ever seen. So we're going to interview him next week. This is or 2 weeks from now. First time he's ever agreed to do this. I think
Nice.
he says he's drunk. And of course, from you.